Welcome back to Rush, and we're playing map 2 this time, Chemical Imps. And on this map, look out for the fact that at the very beginning I'm going to have to punch a bunch of holes through a big crowd of imps that I'm in a very tight space with. You want to use the super shotgun effectively when it's the only weapon you've got here. Also, there's a lot of ambushes that sandwich me, so look for me unsandwiching myself as quick as possible. And finally, target prioritization. You'll hear this a lot talked about in slaughter maps, but you've got to quickly survey the scene and decide which type of monster do I want to get rid of as fast as possible. And in this map, I'll explain a little bit about how and why I do that in a particular situation. Alrighty, let's get on with the video. Okay, time for a pretty massive step up in difficulty. We're still just dealing with imps and pinkies for the most part, but we're in this tiny little space now, and our main weapon for dealing with them is the super shotgun. The chain gun won't be quick enough in a space like this and this many of them. So the trick is to actually not shoot constantly, but select your shots and try and punch holes through the crowd so you've got space to move. Every shot you take needs to be effective. I'm going to grab a little bit of health there because I did lose a lot. The thing is, getting totally surrounded by imps, you can lose health very quickly. So you see, I'm waiting to line up a shot before I take it, putting pinkies between myself and the imps, and as soon as I see a hole that I can run into and find a better space, I'm going for it. And there we go. So if I'd just held the fire button down or tried to use the chain gun and spray and pray there, it would not have worked. You gotta be selective with your shots and make your own space and run into it. And the super shotgun is pretty good for that, albeit it's slow, so you have to be careful and just stay calm and line up some good shots. Now there's an ambush here. These Hell Knights actually teleport away behind you and then more imps come out. So I'm just going to wake them all up because I want that infight to happen while I just quickly take care of these imps. That Hell Knight shot from behind and its fireball clipped through the wall, funnily enough. That's how angry it was. And yeah, by splitting the fight up like that, it's now pretty simple to deal with. And let's see if we can just get a little bit of infighting happen here, because, why not? Go on, guys. Oop, and there's a box of shells here, which I like. And in this little alcove where the imps came from is the first secret in this map. You may have already noticed it if you're quite astute. But of course I have to just, get myself out of trouble here. Now I have allowed myself to be backed into an alcove, but that's because there wasn't that many monsters. So I knew it wasn't going to be that big of a deal. Now look, guess where the secret is, huh? Of course, and it's a plasma rifle. Now with the plasma rifle in this initial room, you could have probably just sprayed and prayed and been fine because it has a very high DPS. Yeah, screw it, I'll grab this now. And let's just come into here where, oh yeah, I haven't sprung this ambush. It's the same kind of ambush, but it's just different. So, they teleport in behind you, but I knew that. Even when they, oops, I don't want to be using that. Even when you don't know, it's not that big of a deal because you just use the tactic that I just did, essentially. Just run around the sandwich, find yourself space to be able to fight on one front. And there we go. And that's a switch that I think helps in this room later. And yes, we very much want that rocket launcher, so let's go and get it. But first things first, this fight. I just cheesed this fight. Because look at all these bullets I have. I don't think there's any other better place to use them in this map. There's not really a situation where they're required, so I just use them here, and the Mancubi can't shoot me through the window, but as you can see, I can shoot them. So for me, this is all about ammo conservation. Yes, it's cheap, but it's so that I can maximize my shells and cells later. It's pretty wasteful with my bullets there, but whatever. Now, pick up all the ammo we could find. This fight is actually pretty difficult. You get sandwiched in this little corridor with a bunch of Hell Knights and Revenants, and they teleport behind you. So it's pretty nasty. What I like to do though is pre-open this door, wake them all up, hang around a little bit longer than is necessary in the hopes that they'll infight, and then get out of there and let them do it. Now yes, this is running away and some people might call that a cheap tactic. I would say in this case though, in a little corridor like that, sandwiched by Revenants and Hell Knights, running away is kinda ideal. Especially with only 38 cells. With a bit more plasma and a BFG for example, then yeah, sure, you could stay there and smash them. But with the super shotgun, you're tempting fate. You really are, by just staying there and trying to super shotgun them all in a little tiny corridor that you're sandwiched into. Use the map geometry to your advantage. Don't think of it as running away, think of it as finding a nice vantage point. Strategically placing yourself. And a Spectre has lasted all the way to the end somehow. And okay. And look, a couple of Revenants died to infighting because I hung around for a bit longer than was necessary to let that occur. Now we're ready for this room. Obviously the rocket launcher is booby-trapped. Take a look at this room and think, where do you think the most obvious place the monsters are going to come from is, huh? Now I swear to you, the first time I played this, I did think it was here. And so I decided to grab the rocket launcher in such a way that I was facing where I thought the obvious threat was. But the other thing is, it's probably not going to come from there, right? So as soon as you grab the rocket launcher, back up to there and survey the scene. And you are rewarded for doing so. When you're getting sandwiched like this, I'd say focus on one side as quick as possible when you've got a high DPS weapon like the rocket launcher. And just get rid of one side of the sandwich, and now you're not sandwiched anymore. And I timed that. I got a bit over eager there, and dodged too soon, and the missile had enough time to adjust itself and hit me anyway. Uh-oh. Okay, so that was poor. The way I was dodging those Revenant missiles there was poor. I got a little bit blasted and moved a bit too quickly and a bit too much even. So what I would have recommended I should have done differently there is just wait, give myself space to dodge, and then once you see whether it's a homing missile or not and which way it's coming, dodge at the last possible second in a more calm fashion than what I just did. Okay, but there's some stim packs here for me, which is excellent. And now I just want to clear this room out. This room's actually just no big deal. It's just a bunch of Revenants and Archfiles stuck in place in a little sort of choke point, and that's gone about as well as it ever possibly could have. And I'm pretty sure this room is populated like that just to stop you running in here if you tried to run away from, like, say, that fight. I just want to clear that now while I think of it. Now, this room. Lots of turreted Mancubi and Revenants, and then when you come around here, a huge crowd of Imps and Spectres. So once again, I would say, get out of there. If you don't have to fight them in the arena like this, don't. I mean, why? To stroke my ego? To stroke everyone else's ego? Nah. You'd just be getting pelted with Revenant missiles that you don't even necessarily see because you're way too busy dealing with the Imps and dodging all the Mancubus fireballs. And then a homing Revenant missile will literally just come from behind you that you could never have possibly seen and smack you in the back. I mean, you know, yes, you can stay in here and maybe rocket all the Imps as quick as possible and it might look kind of cool, but it's just, you know, adding a bunch of unnecessary stress to a fight that doesn't actually need it. And there we go, look how quickly I've dealt with that by creating a choke point. Now, Spectres, and yeah, you can hear some of these Revenant missiles coming at me. So let's get out of there. And I want to clear out these Spectres now, because before the next fight, they can follow you to the next fight, and I really don't want them to do that. Okay, I heard that, and he's getting pretty close. I'm just going to swap off the rocket launcher for a sec. Yeah, because I don't want to rocket myself in the face, do I? A rare moment of me realizing that's a possibility and doing something about it. Okay, I think that's all the Spectres, so let's just grab some rockets on my way through to the next arena. And okay, I hear a Spectre, but hopefully he's angry at someone else. I think he must be. This arena. Did you know that Rush has a custom enemy? You're about to see it. The walls on that side, and that side will open up with a bunch of Imps and the custom enemy, and it's a really dangerous custom enemy, so let me grab all the cells that I can. And you can cheat this fight by just running back out, but I'm not going to. Let's go. So, I'm surrounded by him. It's a Mancubus replacement that shoots double projectiles, essentially. And it really hurts. So, I want to get out of there. Try and hide somewhere. Ooh, okay. I'm just going to bathe them in plasma, though. It's called the Hectobus, and as you can see, it has more health than the usual Mancubus. And yeah, when it fires, I think it's double or maybe even triple the amount of fireballs, so it really hurts. Really high DPS. So yeah, that's why they give you the plasma rifle. If you're in a fight where they give you the plasma rifle, you almost certainly want to use it. Just get them as quick as possible. That was my tactic you saw there. Just get in their face and kill them. Quickest way to defend yourself is to get rid of the monsters. Okay, so let's get out of there. My health's actually not amazing, but it should be okay for the next fight. Let's just quickly get these guys out. This isn't like the next fight, it's just like a few, you know, filler enemies. The next fight, of course, is a big ambush in this big room. And I think actually there's some stim packs back in the previous room that I haven't grabbed, so I will just go grab them because every little bit of health, you just never know whether it will help. And this next fight, though, is, I would say, a pretty decent exercise in target prioritization. You want to be taking out a particular type of enemy based on the situation. So once we step off this lift, this room just fills from all sides with a whole bunch of different types of monsters, and I have my own particular monster that I like to go for first. So okay, we're surrounded, arachnotrons and so on, and there's these cacodemons here. I think taking out these cacodemons first is the way to go, because they can fly, and they're taking up lots of space in this obvious little like safe spot. So clear the safe spot, get rid of the enemies that can harass you from anywhere by flying towards you, and now we have a safe space. And I can, oh no, we don't quite have the safe space yet, but it's just one, so I can rocket it pretty safely. And now look, I can just fire rockets from inside the pit and just go from side to side in case someone's targeting me. Whoop. And all good. Made it through that fight with not that much health. I think there's one actually up to my left. From the sound, yes there was. Well, there is. Ooh, and it just took 3 rockets. Okay, last guy. And there we go. So, target prioritization. In that particular case, I thought the cacodemons were the priority, and I think it bore out. You saw that, you know, by clearing them away, I was able to just hide down in this pit, and the arachnotrons were no big deal anymore. But if you stayed up here, like, however many that was, like 6 arachnotrons just bathing you in plasma while there's a bunch of cacodemons stopping you jumping in the pit, nasty. Okay, now this is an ambush as well, and there's not really any great way to prepare for it, I wouldn't say. You got to just know that it's coming, and I'm going to because I want to just get through it, of course, and that's why you get given this pillar. When it comes to arch files like this, plasma, just kill them as quick as possible because you want them to do as little of that as possible. Okay, actually, don't really need shells for much more on this map, so I'll use them. But I would generally say that when you're in a one-on-one situation like that with an arachnotron, just use the super shotgun because you just never know when you're going to want this. Such as right now. So you can hear a Cyberdemon, right? So you know he's coming. He comes out of that door over there, but these teleporter pads flood with monsters too. So what I think is a good idea is to try and get an infight going as quick as possible. And I'll even cop a bit of cacodemon fire on purpose to allow the infight. To allow the infight and to protect myself. And I think don't interrupt your enemies while they're making a mistake, essentially. Now you can cheat this fight by going somewhere else and killing the Cyberdemon from a safer spot, but I will just try and take him out in this room. Because I don't want to constantly use pussy strats. Use them if you feel you have to, but you don't. There's nothing wrong with being consistent. Every time you see the firing frame, no matter what, whether it's lit up or not, just move. And don't stand too close to a wall. And don't be afraid to not shoot for a little while to get yourself a much better vantage point. Never get that close. I got away with that. Okay, the final secret on this map is indicated by the little torch here. Ta-da, really handy. So while he was fighting the cacodemons, I could have grabbed that because I know the map, but I deliberately didn't so as to show you how to approach this without necessarily needing to know the map. I don't know if I'll be able to keep up the whole, like, how would you approach this blind thing for every map in this set because I'm not that good of a player to necessarily do it, but for while I can, I will. Now, but this is an example of where I'm going to show you that knowing the map is really important. You would think that here now it's time to rocket all these enemies, right? And you can, there's enough rockets, it's pretty tedious, but you can. However, if you do explore just that little bit more, you get rewarded. There's a switch here, and it crushes the Mancubi. It's actually very loud now, unfortunately, but there we go. By exploring just that little bit more, I'm rewarded with not having to do all that tedious rocketing. A little bit of it, but not all of it. and there was a Spectre just there who copped a rocket, thank goodness. I'd forgotten about it and I may have rocketed myself. That is a homing Revenant missile hitting me in the back, just like I was saying earlier. Not the greatest situational awareness on my part, a bit too casual, but I had a Megasphere, you know, so I felt pretty comfortable with being a little bit sloppy. And okay, everyone in here is dead, it's just 3 enemies left. The only slight flaw in the design on this map, in my opinion, is, well, how loud those crushes are, god damn. And the fact you have to constantly run back around here every time if you jump off. I have lots of plasma. 3 enemies, this is quite likely the exit, right? So you should be prepared for anything. Well, but of course. Now there's 2 Archfiles up there. Okay, I need to find myself a bit of cover because it's Archfiles that we're dealing with here. I got zapped, which is really annoying actually, because I would have thought I'd hit him with enough plasma before that I shouldn't be getting zapped there. But whatever, I had lots of health and armor, like I was saying before, and so if you have lots of health and armor, and you know it's the last couple of enemies, you can afford to be a little bit sloppy like I just was. It's maybe not the greatest practice to get into, but whatever, I got away with it. And I was very confident that I would. I did genuinely think that Archfile that I was fighting down in the pit here should have already died. I was surprised to be zapped there, but oh well. And there we go. Chemical Imps. So yeah, a big step up in difficulty, I would say, compared to map 1, but really fun in the variety of combat situations it places you in. And yeah, I tried there to sort of show off how you might approach the fights if you weren't, you know, 100% familiar with what's coming. I actually would play this map quite differently because I know it so well. There's a lot of ways to make those fights even easier to get through, and I think there's nothing wrong with that either. Like if you're playing a map that you know well, don't consider it to be cheap to like use different tactics, have a bit of fun with it, and if you want to be consistent and just sort of smash through with as much health and ammo as you can possibly muster, go for it, you know. But there we go, that's Chemical Imps, and yeah, Rush just continues to get harder from here, although it's not a linear difficulty curve. You know, there are some maps that get easier later. Like I would say this is harder than some of the maps to come. Certainly like map 4 is easier than this, I would say. But anyway, stay tuned for Rush if you're enjoying, and hopefully you had fun and maybe, just maybe, learned something. But more importantly, just enjoyed the playthrough. Peace.